So this was your score with the minimalist shoes on. You didn't score bad at all. 4.03. The closer you get to 1.2, the better. Okay, this is you running completely barefoot. Much nicer patterning here, and a much better score, 2.26. Okay, so Brian went through a lot of similar exercises that I do as I work up the movement chain. So I'm going to show a couple foot specific drills I like. As he mentioned, I do like the toe yoga, working on toe extension and bringing the lateral four toes up. I also like doing something called toe drops. So you lift all your toes up, and then you control bringing down one toe at a time. So all toes up, and then you work on controlling bringing one toe down at a time, starting from the outside in. Then you can also do toe rainbow, which will be pushing down your big and little toe and trying to lift the three middle toes up to form a rainbow, as the name suggests. So you're spreading big toe, little toe, lifting the three toes in the middle. I also like short foot, which would be trying to lift your arch. Guess we could show a side view there. Yeah. So trying to lift your arch, but without crunching the toes. You don't want to do this. You just want to work on lifting your arch and strengthening the intrinsic muscles of the foot. Okay. Another exercise I like is using a band, working on big toe, pushing down onto the band with the big toe, pulling that out, not letting yourself win and the band snapping out from under you. So you got to hold it down with your big toe, and then working on external rotation of your hip so that you can feel that in the glute while you control pushing down with your big toe. Okay. Those are pretty much exercises I do daily to keep my foot strong and work on building up my strength to be able to one day be like Brian and run barefoot, which is the goal.
Hey, it's Brian, the Director of Curriculum and Performance at MovNat, and I'm here with Dr. Diana Solares at Elevate Rehab and Performance. If you've seen the beginning part of the video, you've seen that we did some barefoot running analysis. So what you're about to witness now is a very just informal, kind of impromptu conversation about running in general, barefoot running, and we'll include some exercises and things like that after. But hope you all enjoy a candid conversation between a doctor of physical therapy and an exercise physiologist. So first off, taking the shoes off, taking the socks off. I told you, like, I can't, even a minimalist shoe is too much. Like it affects like the proprioception of the foot so much that it still alters your run mechanics. It was way better without the shoes.
I honestly couldn't believe it that you ran so much better barefoot. Slowly working towards building my foot strength, and I think that's an important point we talked about how, you know, a lot of people try to go straight into wearing barefoot shoes and even go out for a run, and then their calves and their feet are on fire the next day because you have to build the appropriate capacity in the foot and ankle in the first place to be able to tolerate that.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of time. My first time with barefoot shoes was so I used to wear like Nike Nimbus, right, which is like a little cloud for your foot. And this is when we were working at Baptist together. And I ended up getting what was a grade 2 chondral fissure of like this knee, but I didn't know that's what it was. It was just like this sharp pain in my knee, and I kind of always had the sharp pain. And I noticed when I got home and I took off my shoes and I was barefoot, the pain kind of subsided. So I went on this, you know, like 3-4 week trying to figure out what's going on with my knee kind of situation. And the only thing I noticed was being barefoot helped. So I went down the barefoot rabbit hole and just like slapped those bad boys on and worked a 12-hour shift. And I remember the next day, like when I went to get out of bed, I was like, oh my God, like my calves, my hamstrings, my butt cheek, the bottom of my feet. And then I went and got the box, and I remember it says like 15 minutes, you know, until you increase like your capacity to be able to wear them. And, you know, that's like the thing with barefoot shoes. People forget that it's like it's a slowly build up to it because, you know, we've numbed all this stuff for so long that if you go 0 to 100, you know,
with anything, it's not gonna
with
be
anything,
good.
It's not going to be good. So one big thing to help strengthen the foot and the peroneals and all the surrounding muscles is a lot of balance work.
Right.
You know, whether it's on an elevated surface or a low hanging surface, like balance work from like multiple positions, you know, standing, deep knee bend kind of position, split squat, deep split squat walk. And then it was doing like cardio circuits. So I would, instead of like running for 20 minutes straight barefoot, I would, we had a rower and a ski erg and a bike at the gym. So I would go, okay, we got 25 yards of turf. I'll run 25 yards of turf for 3 minutes, forwards and backwards. And then when the 3 minutes got up, get on the rower, row for 3 minutes, get on the bike, row for 3 minutes, get on the ski erg, go for 3 minutes, get back on the turf, go for 3 minutes, and then do it for an extended duration. If it was 30 minutes, then you did, 10 rounds of 3 minutes apiece or whatever it was. If you're not there yet and you don't have the condition, that's how people get hairline fractures, plantar fasciitis, stress fractures, the Achilles tendon tears. Like, how often do you see that kind of stuff here?
Very often. Every tendonitis, peroneal tendonitis, tibialis posterior tendonitis, Achilles tendonitis, all the itises for sure. All of them. With runners, they're putting a lot of load and stresses through their legs. So it's usually what I'm teaching them is how to run most efficiently in order to take stress off of these tendons. And typically, you could do a lot with just 1 or 2 cues, changing the way you run. But obviously, if not, we do some treatment as well for it. And then also combine that with the retraining programs.
Yeah. I noticed that when I started to switch to just running purely barefoot, the mechanics changed pretty drastically.
I saw it on your...
Yeah, when we did it here, the experiment, but when I was doing it in 2022, it changed pretty drastically, like on its own. But you see, like when I ran with these, there was a lot of like hard heel strike and overstriding.
Exactly.
Because I feel like almost like I'm lost in space. There's so many proprioceptors on the bottom of the foot.
Correct.
And all that stuff. Now, I don't think like we have a TI in MovNat. Her name is Diana Matula, and she runs barefoot like 3 miles all the time. She's an animal. There's always this idea of like contextual demands, right? So like in Miami, it's not really an appropriate place to run barefoot because
I wouldn't.
It's asphalt.
Yeah.
It's sidewalk. There's, it's sharp stuff on the floor, rocks, needles, a razor blade, whatever it is on the floor, and heat.
Exactly.
So so I did like my barefoot run in Colorado, and when I got back to Miami, I wanted to do some more barefoot training outside of the gym. And I woke up what I thought was early enough, like 7 a.m., light breakfast, went out and ran, and I burned the bottom of my feet. You kind of have to have the right environment to really run barefoot kind of safely. I don't think Miami's like a great spot to do it, but there's some people out here that be running barefoot.
Yeah, I mean...
like on straight asphalt, like hot asphalt. And they're so like, their foot is so calloused, like they can just do it.
I honestly wouldn't, mainly because I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, and... so I do not want to step on a needle or a razor blade, obviously, but also it kind of grosses me out a little bit. So I think I would at least need some type of really minimalist shoe or barefoot shoe.
Tape.
Yeah.
Tape
Something. I need a barrier because it kind of grosses me out here in Miami. I think if I was doing it out in the wild, somewhere natural,
grass touching your feet instead of concrete,
would make more sense.
It is definitely a different
no
vibe.
way would I run on the asphalt out here.
So there was a interesting like little clip that was circulating on social media. Dr. Peter Attia had this doctor come on, and they were talking about the strength of your big toe.
Oh yeah,
big toe strength, right? Big toe strength is the biggest indicator of all-cause mortality, but you wouldn't have to worry about that
if you just moved.
You moved, right?
Naturally.
You moved naturally. Do you have anything else to add? Like, have you seen a lot of like barefoot injuries?
I guess what makes sense for me, as far as explaining why you ran so much better barefoot versus with the shoes on, is I think for you, for whatever reason, having something, a shoe, any kind of shoe, was increasing your threat response to the ground. So I feel like just being barefoot just brought you had more of that tactile cueing, and in your mind, that just lowers your perceived threat of injuring yourself, if that makes any sense.
I think I get what you're saying. Like, you're saying that having the shoe or the barrier could even increase my tolerance to impacts.
Correct.
So my body's like, hey, you can drive into the ground a little bit harder. And then if I'm barefoot, it's like, ooh, got to be a little bit more careful. So it's a lot more sensitive to what's happening.
For sure. But like, usually that does happen all the time. But like, you ran so much better without shoes on at all, that I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, what happened that you were able to run so much better?
There's this really interesting podcast, and it was the person who runs the Harvard Run Lab.
Okay.
They have a Harvard Run Lab where they literally analyze people who run barefoot.
Cool.
And she made a comment in that podcast where they were asking her, like, how do you train somebody to run barefoot? And she's like, you don't. You just make them run barefoot, and the body works it all out by itself because of all like the receptions. She's like, the moment you put somebody on a treadmill and you take off their shoes and you have them run, give them a little bit, take them off the treadmill, put them back on, and in the same session there's a significant improvement in running. And it's like your body knows, the brain,
Right.
there's so much afferent signaling coming from the spine
Correct.
out to the peripheral. Your body's going to make kind of the adjustments it needs to. The problem that people have is like they've never run barefoot in their life, and instead of running for 5 minutes, they're like, I'm going to run 3 miles.
Right.
And then they run 3 miles, and then they blame the barefoot running for the injury on
Right.
the foot. But it's like you didn't even have the
Right.
tolerance.
You have to build the capacity.
I think that's like the biggest lesson to learn for anybody who's interested in trying to pursue something like running
Agreed.
barefoot, is just build the capacity over time. One way I did it was through that cardio circuit idea.
Right.
Yesterday I did some barefoot running, and because the weather was kind of messed up outside, in hybrid there's
Was it
only
yesterday that it was raining?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yesterday
it was raining. It was
so
pretty nasty.
I was trapped indoors. There's a 15-yard strip of turf
Right.
inside a hybrid.
Mhm.
So down and back is 30. So what I did was I set a clock for 5 minutes, and I went down back just running. Then I did lateral shuffling. Then I did backpedaling, and then I did skipping, and then I would just loop that over again until I completed the 5 minutes.
For sure. I mean,
And it's just an easy way to give your foot different
correct
feedback, different positioning, and different body. So that's some other things. And breaking the fourth wall, we'll show you guys some different alternative exercise from a physical therapist's point of view and from the natural movement perspective.
For sure.
All right. So some movements that I use from the natural movement side to work on like my ankles and my feet and kind of prep me for something like barefoot running or training barefoot is, first one that I do is I will take my toes and ball them up using my own leg. So from the side, it kind of looks like this. Now, I'm not applying like a ton of pressure. I'm just putting whatever is tolerable for me. And I'll rock that forwards and back, side to side, and like a little circle. And it's surprising like how much force you can actually put in this position. Like when you get better at it, you can kind of like walk like this and not have too many problems. But don't do that in the beginning. Just gradually get into this position. The next one is some, I think Diana called this toe yoga. I'm just like playing with my toes. The other thing is, walking on the outside of my feet, walking on the inside of my feet, tippy toes, heel walk, and then finding any kind of like elevated surface that I have to like balance on and play with and move. I have this elevated like cork thing that I forgot to bring, but what I'll do is I'll get a hacky sack and I would curl the hacky sack, pick up the hacky sack, drop the hacky sack, pick it up, bring it all the way around, just play with picking things up and moving things around. And then, low-level plyometrics is one other thing. So pogos, when you get used to that, something like a jump land sequence. So just pop up barely off the ground and then land and come into the floor. And then little by little, you can build that into more explosive task, but with, progression. So just make sure you build the capacity before. And then when you run, just limit how much you run. I do short spurts, running, side shuffling, backpedaling, skipping, all that kind of stuff is great as long as it's in like short duration and short bouts until you build up that capacity over time. So those are some natural things. And then also the kneeling positions, because they work on toe extension. So kind of getting into this deep position, again, deep kneeling, coming into the position, this kind of like figure four sit, playing with this, deep knee bends. So coming back, loading and kind of getting into this bottom position and making sure we can handle and tolerate these positions. All this stuff is great, but getting to those positions just takes some time and some practice.